What is going on, everybody? Here we are. Welcome. Thank you, everyone. My name is Matt. I play games as the Cutter. This is my Thursday night Twitch show. Just scrapping. Thank you, everyone who is here live. Thank you, anyone that does happen to find this on replay. Tonight's stream is a little different than your standard game stream. Wednesdays we do challenges, narrated play. We interact with chat. Tonight's a little different. We did announce that next week here on this program, Brian Machin, number one player in the app, will be my guest here on Just Scrappin'. But tonight, we have a total treat. Everyone's been looking forward to this. My closest friend, Dustin Bremer, is Dusto in the app. And he and I met very shortly into 1996. We'll talk about that, of course. You guys know him, of course, as the lead admin here on the Facebook community page. He also is very active and has always been in online community tournaments. He has a great stream going as of late, and his card was recently announced, the Templar. Dustin Bremer, how the hell are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate the stellar introduction.
Did the intro do you justice?
Well, you left out a lot of accolades, but we'll let it slide.
We'll get to him. So real quick, I guess let's get some early things out. Tell us where you're at. Tell us a little bit about your family and what you do.
Absolutely. So as Matt mentioned, we met each other in Wisconsin. At that time was Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Currently in Neenah, Wisconsin, which is about a whole 10 miles away. So very far. I have actually lived across the country. I am married. I've got a 7-year-old little boy. He is growing up way too fast and getting too smart for his own britches, so he keeps me on my toes. I've been a competitive gamer for card games, video games, board games, for as long as I can remember. I've always been trying different ones out, so very active with that. I do boring financial stuff for work. I say I'm a firefighter because I put out fires all day long. I do a lot of error corrections and handle escalated cases and a bunch of boring stuff like that. What I really like to do, though, is I like to game.
Let's talk about your hat.
So this hat is fantastic. This is a Sarah T creation. Sarah had actually made, as everyone's aware, she's made hats for Star Realms for a while, where they have like the regular Star Realms logo, and then she'll put your name across there. I believe I had the number 2 hat after Bax. He had actually brought that out to me at White Wizards game for 2017, and she used the wrong pattern for it, and it was too small. And I just put it on anyways. I wore it all weekend. I loved it. And then she's like, got a hold of me eventually. She's like, hey, I need to make you a new hat. I'm testing out some new designs, and I wonder if you would be interested in looking at some of them. So she talked about, at that time, just making logos for each of the 4 factions. And so me knowing my card information before the general public, kind of threw it to him like, hey, would you be able to make like the alignment symbol, the machine cult, Star Empire, for no particular reason? And she's like, I could probably do that. And then that's where this symbol came from. And then she said she's also messing around with how she's putting names on the hat. So instead of just being a cross,
Sure.
she's like, I want to do this idea where they come down the middle. And I said, I don't care. Sure, if it do whatever you want, I trust it's going to look good. And so she made this hat. Funny story about this hat. Apparently this hat was bigger than it was supposed to be. And she sent me a picture of Sam wearing it, and it looks like it's like he called it a Rostov hat. It's kind of hanging off the
Sure.
back. I told her, trust me, I've got a really big head. It'll work. Just send it over. And popped it on, and we're good to go.
Very nice. So that's Sarah Tardashef. She makes awesome hats. You can get a hold of her, and she will custom make that. I don't have anything prepared on how to get a hold of her, but a lot of people that are seeing this will.
Anyone who knows us, get a hold of us directly, and we can pass along your information.
So Dustin and I are certainly going to get lost in our chat tonight, and we'll hope you guys will enjoy that. But we will, we are on Twitch, so of course we will at least go through the motions of playing some Star Realms. And it's tough to say. We'll see how much we actually talk about our play versus whether we're just kind of, like I said, getting lost in chat. Do you want to send me a challenge?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me go ahead and fire it up here real quick. I'm going to start the night off right. And just send that bad boy over. Now, finding your game in this mess of open games I have open right now is a little bit of fun. I'm in the Gym and Endurance Invitational honorary thing, whatever it's called. I forgot what it's called, but there's a bazillion games I have open. It's like this never-ending stream of games, but there we go.
Yes, I like and respect that was set up. I have a little on my plate right now, so I did not end up signing up for that.
It's funny. I originally said something about it, and then I didn't join, and then I was asked. Then I hopped in, and I said, "Well, if you guys are started, don't worry about it." And then they're like, "No, come on in." And I was like, "Okay, whatever. Now I'll get in." And then I saw there's 60 games you got to play or something. I don't know if people are aware. Rick is also doing in the endurance season. He's doing a special prize to honor Jimin as well.
Oh, nice.
And that's whoever has the most knockouts for the season. And I'm actually going to be sending whoever wins that a brand new sealed playmat for whoever wins that. And I'll give them the option if they want me to sign it, if they care about me or not, or
Nice.
or maybe they just want a clean mat. I don't know. All right, so Matt, let's take a look here. So I've kind of got, let me move some stuff around on my screen here a little bit. I wanted to get, even though we're not paying too much attention to Twitch, I do. I wanna. So I sent Matt everything except for missions, because missions are poopers. And I'm sure we'll talk about that quite a bit tonight. Orbital shuttle. All right. Well, we will just play the long game here. We had the very awesome acceptable losses with the double Viper draw, which I'm a big fan of. And I'll ship that over.
So the reason I remember very specifically that it was the either January or February of 1996 that I met our friend Dustin here is because it is that freshman year of college that I went home for Christmas and I came back to college a Magic player. I had discovered, friends had already been talking about Magic. It had been recommended to me. I wasn't interested for a long time. And then I went into a Pick and Save. That's a grocer back in the Midwest. And I saw something I really haven't seen before or since, and it was a collectibles and sports card vending machine. You could just
nice, very nice.
I've never seen a vending machine with that type of products in it before. But I saw that there were some 4th edition, some Mirage, and some Ice Age packs. I didn't know what that meant at the time, but I picked them up. And by the time I came back to Oshkosh, like any new junkie, I needed a guy. I needed a dealer. And I found my way into the House of Heroes. Is that Main Street?
Yep, Main Street, House of Heroes, Comics and Games.
Where Dustin Bremer was working. And he became my guy.
So, in walks this scrub. Says, "I want to play some cards." I'm like, "Come on in, young man." And the rest is history. That's the story. That's it.
Now, some of the other just odd things that I remember this far after, we came in because my friends in the dorms were telling me that I needed to get some underground Cs. And that those were going to be kind of pricey at about $10 a piece. But I might be able to get the store down to $8 a piece if I bought 4 of them or something like that. And I was also looking for icy manipulators out of Ice Age, which at the time were a couple dollars more than those underground seas. That just tells you the context, you know. And of course, we don't want to bog anyone down with Magic talk. If you're not a Magic people, but that is a big basis of me and Dustin's relationship. And that sets some context into when this was. I mean, that's such a long time ago. I don't even know what a revised Underground Sea would be today, but when I last looked, they were north of
300
300. Yeah.
Yep. It's crazy. Yeah, so one of the times when I sold my collection, I sold my collection over the years a couple times. I had played Magic since Revised was out in '94, and I think the last time I sold them, they were $25 a piece for my duels, and had a full set. And me and Matt could go back. Just the stuff we got rid of was just crazy back then compared to now. But no, like Matt said, that's what really got us to meet, to know each other, to sit down and play games with each other, and really realize that we just got along. You run into a lot of characters, obviously. Working at a store, our store was actually very busy. We had Arena before Friday Night Magic even existed.
Mm-hmm.
We had Arena going on. We had different leagues going on. We had tournaments every other weekend. And any day you could walk in and there would be 6 to 12 people playing minimum. This was during the heyday. This is when, as Matt mentioned, late 90s. That's also when Pokemon was really big. So there's a lot of people in from playing that. And then there's a lot of cross between players on both sides and then other games.
You guys had a lot of people playing the wrestling card games.
Yes. Big time. So the WCW Nitro and at the time WWF Raw Deal were out, and they were very big card games at the time. And I actually at one point was the number 2 player in the world for WCW.
Wow.
I played a mutual friend of me and Matt's, Adam. We went to Gen Con. This is when Gen Con was still in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And they had the WCW World Championships there. And we had only ever played against other people in our store. So we didn't play super competitively. We didn't know probably half of what our cards really did. And I was able to... So we played against some people that went to Origins earlier that year. I'd actually still never been to Origins. Thanks, COVID this year canceled that.
Yeah, we got robbed of that, buddy.
Yep. So we went to that. And then I ended up going all the way to the finals. They took us out of the side tournament area we're at. We had the finals. They had a whole booth area set up on the main floor. They actually had a couple of wrestlers there. Buff Bagwell was there. And then they had one of the Nitro girls was there. And they actually had us play in a ring that they had set up, a full-size wrestling ring. And that's where the last 2 of us played our final match in there. And I beat... There's 2 guys that were obviously super competitive. They had been playing at big tournaments for this already, so they were fine-tuned. I beat the one and lost to the other, so it was definitely a very big moral victory. But that's something I kind of hang my hat on a little bit.
And I believe that is, you guys got me some signed Buff Bagwell stuff, right? Because I still have that tucked away somewhere. I didn't get into the game much, but I did have a deck, and it was a Buff deck, and you guys hooked me up.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
So it wasn't right away, but over time, I spent that first few months or maybe a year playing Magic entirely casually at a time where it was great. We would get 8 and 9 player games in the dorms. Girls were playing with us. I mean, at the time, that was kind of unheard of. Of course, today an 8 or 9 player game sounds awful. Just how long is that going to take? But I started coming in more, and I started realizing that you were not playing casual decks at all. You were playing Magic in a different way, and the consistency of how the deck played and how I just lost all the time was, it wasn't unnoticed. And I started to look at things a little bit differently, This is going to really test you. Do you remember by chance any of the two decks that come to my mind that were just hell on me that you were playing so? These were the first things that I ever learned. I had never heard the term net deck, I think, until you explained to me that's
Hmm.
kind of what we were doing here.
Yeah, absolutely. So where you were at, I was at a few years before that. That's when your friends got together on the kitchen table on a Friday night, and one person had a Royal Assassin, and they were awesome. You had to watch out for that guy because they had that one card, or one person had a Force of Nature. So it was very more casual, and I think that's kind of like where you were at that time. You're a little more advanced than that, I should say, though. But yeah, so by the time you would come in, I had been playing tournaments at a couple of different card shops in that area for years at that point, minimum once a month, if not more. So you came in and you're rolling in like a Chimera deck, and you're rolling in just like some random stuff. And at that point, I'm basically only playing tournament level. I wasn't playing fun decks. I'll definitely say that because a lot of people I was playing with weren't playing fun decks either. To us, that was our fun. And I'm pretty sure the first one I introduced you to was Counter Hammer, if I remember right. Just red blue counter burn.
It probably
Uh,
was, but the first one that really stuck out in my mind was the Tradewind Rider days.
oh,
Yeah, that was
yeah,
pretty
where you're just
annoying.
bouncing everything in the world, and
And I think you made
oh,
me
I haven't thought of
hate.
that in a long time, man. I can't believe you busted that out.
I would bet there's a lot of people that have a lot of hated cards in Magic. I for some reason one that still sticks out in my mind is Capsize because I just you would just be annoying just long enough to get that with buyback. Anyway, we're getting to it. Then the next one was Counter Morphling, and we're seeing a theme. Dustin was a blue-ish player, but that was just at the time. Over time, yeah, I've seen you play a lot of red, a lot of black. And thinking of black, the first time I finally felt like I could play at least a little bit competitively was the first time that I beat Dustin in a tournament, and that was when you guys held your Halloween tournament, and it was black only, and I had a ridiculous start. It was pretty fun. But that was really monumental for me. I mean, that really set my. That was the first time I really played around with something constructed and had it pan out sort of the way that I wanted. And the fact that it meant so much that tells you. I mean, you were really my standard for competitive Magic, and yeah, I mean, as a model of just someone that plays games in a way where you're seeking high level performance and results. I don't know that I thought of any games really before that. I've always enjoyed games, but seeing how you were kind of doing it did open my eyes big time, and very much still makes a part of me today.
That's cool. I mean, I knew it was big at the time, and that's yeah, every time I saw it, it's kind of humbling a little bit because, um, yeah, like you said, I could tell you were determined, and obviously we saw where you went after that. We'll get into more of that later, but you from our time there alone, definitely you were picking up things most people weren't normally picking up. If anyone's familiar, I remember Matt's opening against me. It was again Halloween, all black only. This was I don't even maybe Tempest or something, Weatherlight. It was like the newest set, um, and so Matt starts out Dark Ritual, Hidden Horror, pitches a Hidden Horror. Next turn puts out a second Hidden Horror. It's black only. He's got two 4/4s in my face already second turn, and it was just over before it even started. And it was pretty impressive. It was one of those I looked at it. I'm like, all right, I guess I lose this one. We're done.
And I think the
So,
second one put another spirit in the graveyard as well,
yes,
or
yes, that's right.
shadow,
I'm sorry.
one of them.
Yeah, another. I think it was definitely another shadow.
And interestingly,
And then you,
the one player in the tournament not using dark rituals Won the day. Go figure.
Yep. Well, that was remember he was also using pestilence, and most people weren't using that because there wasn't really a way for black to kill black creatures at that time efficiently. And so he was playing that. So if you just got more stuff out, he just used pestilence, wiped the board with it, and then start over. So it was pretty impressive. I dug little tournaments like that we used to do that would show just little different ways you had to think about the game. Kind of like some of the theme tournaments and things you could do with any game, really. You could do a Star Realms, you could do whatever.
Well, buddy, I think we're going to get that Levi.
Is it finally happening?
Yep.
Did I leave it out there too long? I sure did. I really thought maybe I had a shot with my trade, but it just never came together. And I've had ample opportunity to scrap it from the board.
Well,
I did not.
At least it is basically the only damage in my deck at this point.
That's a good card to have as your only damage card.
Did I buy both of my 2 Lotuses from you, or just the second one?
Just the second one.
I do not remember where I got that first beat up.
Doc.
Did I get it from Doc?
No. The first one was mine. It was beat up because it had the bent corner.
Oh, you got the second one from Doc and then sold it to me.
Yes.
Okay. But the first one also I got from you?
I believe so. They rotated around. So people that don't know, Doc was he was actually a professor at the college that it was in town at UWO. That Matt went to. I don't know, Matt. Did you actually ever have a class of his?
I did not.
Or yeah, he randomly came into the shop one day. Super cool guy. Again, he was a professor, but like you wouldn't know that if you didn't talk to him. But he obviously dressed a little bit nicer, but he's super friendly, laughed all the time. And all of a sudden, because he had some money, when he started playing like Matt, he came in very casual, and then he wanted to be good though, and he just started dropping tons of money on all these cards.
I was gonna say I bought a lot of stuff from Doc, and none of it was in crappy condition. He got good stuff,
Yep.
and he did. He
went out,
he spent some real money.
Yeah, he sought quality. I don't know if you remember, he got his first tattoo was a large tiger tattoo on his back, and apparently it covered like 2/3 of his back, and it was like a multi-session process and this whole thing, and that was his first tattoo. That's the point, though. It's just like he didn't go small; he went big.
So at the time, again, just giving some context, I believe I bought that Lotus, and that Lotus that you sold me that you got through Doc was very, very nice. It had a tiny bit of scuffing on the back, but the front was... The front I could have listed at near mint, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Dustin gave me at the time a fair market price of $175. Which then I...
Oh, it hurts so much.
And when I got out of Vintage and Legacy sometime in mid-2003, so effectively, 2 years later, I sold it at $4.25 and felt great about it. And I'm not a guy that regrets, yeah, we can talk about this and look back and wouldn't it be nice, but I mean, it's not like either one of us would still have those cards today.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So no, I felt pretty good about that transaction. I felt like I flipped it. Seeing that now it is worth a car it's very strange. I mean, even if we could have predicted that Magic cards would have kept even staying the same, I mean, without falling out, could we have ever guessed that the old stuff would be this exponentially more valuable than it was back then?
No, absolutely not. And that's a good point, because there's also things, I was reading a couple articles on this years ago. There are things that also increase the value of some of the older cards that are way out of print from many years ago. I can't remember when it was. I think it was like the late 2000s or whatever, when Japan had that tsunami and it just like wiped out like cities. apparently there was like a chunk of the Power 9 that was just destroyed because of that. Like the total supply of the Power 9 in the world. Um, from players there that had it. And, their homes were destroyed and whatnot. So just something like that you wouldn't even think of would affect the supply and the value of certain cards. Just kind of blows my mind as well. But you're absolutely right. There's no way I think anyone would have any idea that this stuff would be that valuable still then. Like you said, stuff then you literally, sold for a couple $100 and you could buy a car with it now.
Yeah.
And there's people that, they do a lot of speculation. They do it with collectibles. They do it with gold. They do it with, card games and stuff like that. And that's something that they do. They invest in these products. And some of them made off very well with it. So I brought this up before in one of Matt's streams, but I don't think people realize. So again, when Matt was coming into my shop, mid-ish to late-ish 90s, again, wide-eyed, didn't really know what's going on, just getting into the game, trying to play, wants to be competitive, but again, really doesn't. I don't know if you won any tournaments there. I don't even know.
No, that Halloween one was it.
Yeah. And then not too many years
No,
later,
and I didn't even win that. I did. Sorry, go
yeah.
ahead.
But only a couple of years later, handful of years later, Matt was the #1 vintage Magic player in Nevada. He had morphed into what I was at that time. He was playing disgusting combo decks. He was playing things that just win on turn one. He was there to win, there to play at tournaments, and I think that's pretty cool. And it blew my mind. When you had first mentioned it, and I looked you up online, I'm like, sure enough.
Yeah, I appreciate it. That was a lot of fun. It became addicting. Once, I'll just put it out there. I was willing to spend the money on the cards. I was playing in a Vegas environment that there was a little bit of power. I was powered in a generally unpowered environment. So I had the luxury of not only net decking some of these things like the original Stacks and TNT and Stacker 2. These are all workshop builds. This was right around the time where workshop became unrestricted and immediately went from being a $35 card, well, double or triple at the time, and now, again, exponential.
Yeah, thousands. Just like Bazaar.
Yeah.
How much did I sell you those Bazaars for?
Dude, I sold them even less than you. It was bad. I sold 2 of them for 17 apiece, the 2 beat up ones, just because the guy was a friend and we had a good trading history and stuff. Yeah. But yeah, that was.
This game, by the way, is going really bad all of a sudden. This is bad. Go ahead.
But yeah, that was a lot of fun for me. Magic in Vegas. I moved to Vegas when I was. It was. I don't really know what I was thinking. I'm very glad that I did, but the logic and the decision, the points, the reasons I decided to go. I mean, it was crazy. So, needless to say, I was broke for the first 2 years in Vegas. And since I had already spent a lot of money on the cards, that's something I could just go find. Something I always fall back on. You move to a new place, you can always go find the game store. And you can find people that are going to be at least a little bit like you. And if it turns out that it's a wonky group, because some gamers are wonky, you can pick a couple, say, hey, you want to come chill at my place and play some cards. And it became a lot of fun, and I did get pretty addicted. At one point, I was playing a little too much Magic. That sounds familiar here with me. By the time MTGO came out, someone asked me, and it was like, God, I'm playing on, 3 days a week, plus I'm playing on MTGO. So I did have to scale it back, and after, that my competitive run there really was 2001 to 2003. It was a lot of fun. That was at the time where it was a DCI-based system that I think they have. This might look bad, but
changed it multiple times.
I'm sitting on a lot of my starters yet, so we'll have to see if this still pans out. Um,
I think you cut out there, Matt.
no, I'm just suddenly thinking about
Oh,
my
I'm sorry.
play. Sorry.
Oh, okay. So I have the stream. Okay, so to be very transparent, I have my game over part of the stream, so I can't see your game, but I can see our cameras.
Oh, funny.
And I didn't realize there was that much of a delay, so I just see you yapping away over there, and then there's no sound. I'm like,
No, I had to think for a second because I knew I had to go
Gotcha.
digging for it, and I found it. So good game.
you suck. Yeah, I had Star Fortress and Unity Station and Grip, but again, not enough. I was going too casual that game. I definitely was just buying up bases to buy them up there, I think. And definitely gambled by not scrapping out that Levi. Again, because I was looking at your trade and looking at mine, and I'm like, we have a pretty equal chance of getting it, but I think I had some draw stuff where you didn't. So I'm like, I probably could put that together before him. And that's a gamble for sure. And obviously didn't pay out there.
Want to send that back the same way?
Sure. Absolutely. It's weird because every time in the app I start typing out MattTheCutter. I don't know why.
So since then, I lived in Las Vegas for 10 years. And obviously it was tougher to remain close with the distance, but Star Realms is what has played a big part in allowing me and Dustin to actively game or just participate, around gaming together, almost like there's not the distance. We couldn't have seen this coming. I feel like my trip home where I introduced it to you was days after the app came out. Does that sound right?
It was very close because, yeah, I remember you were saying, like, the app's brand new, and so Matt visits, he shows me the card game. We play a couple of games of it. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of cool. And then, like, when he's just like, I'm just going to chill for a little bit, he's just got his phone, just notifications just going off left and right. Well, I technically not really at left and right now compared to, for then, what it would be now with these games, with these apps. But I was like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm playing it online. I'm like, well, that's dumb. Why don't we just play here? Now I know, trust me. Oh my god. So it was just so funny. Which way do I want to go here? But yeah, so the app was brand new. Matt showed me the game. I remember us going out to lunch to Culver's, if anyone's familiar, and sitting down and playing a game. And he explained to me why his name in the app was the Cutter. He showed me the Cutter card, and it clicked pretty quickly. I'm like, okay, this card's pretty broken for 2 trade. And then I remember being blown away by Missile Mech. Like, holy cow, this thing does damage. It blows up a base for free. It draws. This card does everything. Yeah, it's still a great card, but it's not like, the best thing in the world. But it was just so funny going from that revelation of trying to piece it together.
So at the time, we were also good friends with a guy named Glenn. And both you, me, and all three of us had been part of gaming communities, for better or for worse at that point. But we could see that this game had some depth, and we're like, there's going to be one. But there really wasn't one yet. There seemed to be one Facebook group that had some limited posts, but even though somehow the game was still brand new, there hadn't been posts in weeks. So I think that was put up basically just based on the paper game. It wasn't really put up in response to the app, of course. And so we thought, well, let's just throw one up, see what happens. No one's going to know it's there. And I think the biggest thing that helped us get noticed, I did send an email to Darwin to let him know that we liked his game and we're going to be putting up a page and asked him, well, we weren't asking him. We were just saying, letting him know we're going to do this.
Yeah.
And thankfully, they came in with 16 or 17 of their people. And for a while, it was just you, me, our friends, and them. Pat Compton was my roommate at the time, so he was, of course, there. And people just started slowly trickling in. Let's see what we got here.
It was pretty interesting because just like you mentioned, that's one thing where, with our page that, we've always kind of done it, and we've had a extremely good relationship with White Wizard Games. But that's always been something where this is our page. We're going to do this. We're going to be respectful. We love your game. But that's why, for a long time, like, we were telling people, like, don't tag them, don't harass them. This isn't their page. If you need support, you need to go to their page, that type of thing. This is more for, like, we want to get some tournaments going. We were struggling to get 8 people on a Sunday afternoon to play. Matt started the Sunday Casuals back then. It was, or not Sunday Casual. I don't think they're called Sunday Casuals. They're just called Sunday tournaments, whatever.
So it was Sunday Quick Play.
Quick Play, that's what it was.
And
like,
I didn't quite have the balls to just tell people you need to effing play now. Yeah. That's what we didn't quite do right. I see that now, like, White Wizard was able to run these real-time events on the app and get done in a reasonable amount of time, but somehow these 8-player tournaments were taking us 8 and 12 hours.
Yeah, and Matt had kind of prefaced it and sold it at that time as, you're sitting around watching football, you're not doing anything anyways, let's play this tournament. And we'd get like 5-6 people, and then we'd have to like send out messages to try to get a couple more to get the 8. It was pretty cool how it like kind of developed over time. Again, with theirs, they were very supportive. They've always been. I don't know Matt's exact conversation with it, but Matt started getting prize support from them very quickly, and went through a whole thing of sending that stuff out. And now we have 3,300 people as of today in our group.
It's crazy.
Can you believe that?
It's crazy.
I think we've removed as many people as I can count on one hand, maybe. Our group has been self-sufficient, self-moderated by our great community members. It's phenomenal. It's really unheard of. I've been a moderator in some of my local game groups, whether it's either just collectors or actually games, and they've outright sometimes just even shut down because it's so toxic, so bad, or like people just stop using it. It's really weird. And this group, this community, I can't say enough about it. It's so awesome. I'm very proud of it. All right, sorry, I should do something here. I should probably buy that Factory Road. What do you think?
If you can afford it.
If you got the dollars, make it happen.
And Dustin referenced that line that we wanted to make sure that we sort of drew. It's the reason I gave it the tongue twister name that it has. It's occurred to me that now, like, for a while, I thought about possibly just changing it. I know that for a while, it's been posted and advertised everywhere, and people just know it now. But you probably could make it something easier now if you wanted to. But it was for that reason. It was to draw that line. We are independent, and the presence of the White Wizard family is that of guests.
Yeah.
And we certainly do want you to be able to reach out and say good game, but yeah, they're not beholden to your tech issue or problem. Or remember, there were just people that were just outright tagging, hey, one of these expansions is going to come out. Come on.
Yes. There were people that were just tagging Rob and Darwin like directly for not even that, like it was even just the minor things, and I'm just like, that's not what they're here for. So with that said, especially over the years, and now that they've built more of their social media staff, they respond all the time, and we're very happy that they do. By all means, like, if you have something, the expectation is, yeah, just, hey, anyone else have this problem? By the way, I sent an email to them, but, seeing if anyone else or if you had a fix, and they will respond usually pretty quickly. They monitor that stuff, so it's awesome.
I feel like they're being a little more transparent as of late as well.
Yeah, absolutely. They definitely are. Um, the favorite running joke is the Hero Rums app. And now they just flat out said, last week, like, yep, we're doing it now. Just so you know, it is in production.
That's awesome. I
But
cannot
they
wait.
I think they're being more transparent too, especially about like, their delivery. Because obviously there's been, delays of like some of their Kickstarters in the past. The Frontiers box was delayed, I don't know, 8 months or something. Something ridiculous like that. So, and obviously the new one has been delayed, but COVID, you can easily blame anything on that. Factories have shut down, basically. Not much you can do there. So here's the thing in the game. When we have this event that lets you set a card aside, I like grabbing something hot, but I also am a big fan of grabbing heroes with this because it's something that I can spend money on.
Yeah.
It's going to pop into play right away, and then I can use it. So if Blob Overlord's there and it's going to be 4 damage, it's going to hopefully knock out a base, I'm going to grab it right away.
100%. Not only being able to pull it immediately, but, taking it from me, having it in your pocket, that's hard to argue with.
Yep. So, obviously, yeah. So that's, like I said, that's something where, sure, I'd like to pocket Self Needle. But like I said, you buy it, well, then you use it with that ability, it's just going to go into your discard. And granted, I have a way to get something back here, but who knows if that combo will come up. So, yeah, the group growth, the group self-moderation, the creativity of our members. We've had people running their own side events and even getting together either their own prize support or getting prize support from White Wizard Games themselves. We've had the endurance event going for I don't even know how long. Morgan Tizer was originally running that, and then he passed it over to Rick after a while. We've had team events. We've had just so many different things in this group that have just come up, and it's great. It's awesome. It's our community is 100% what's kept me in this game, besides the fact that this is one of the few ways that me and Matt can still hang out on a regular basis, being, I don't know, 1,500, 2,000 miles apart, whatever. But this is something that maybe I would have passed on from. But now with our community, it keeps so much going. And while I like to think and say I do a lot as far as working the group, this group takes care of itself so well. It's so easy. I love it.
Well, and as of late, as I've gotten this going, you have also become very active with streaming.
Yeah. So the streaming is something that, as much as I do, I'd love to do more. But I also, myself and my wife both work full time, and with the 7-year-old, we want to make sure that we're cognizant of spending that time together as not only family but with him. So it does make it a little bit tougher to get those streaming times in, but I really do enjoy it. And the goal is to get on there at least once a week, if not more. One nice thing is they are early birds. I'm a night owl, so that's why you may see me streaming on a Friday night or Saturday night really late, because I'm obviously not out causing a ruckus at the bar or something like that. I'm home playing games like a real dork, and if I can stream that at the time, sure. I'm getting really far behind this game again. I don't know what's happening here. Let me see what you even got. You got nothing going on. Nothing. No, this is something I find too when I stream a lot. I will just kind of lose track of the game, and all of a sudden you're down like 20 points. Just like you even mentioned last night. I thought that was very true when you said that. There's something to be said about that. Like, you're focusing on the chat, you're focusing on what you're saying, you're looking at the game, and next thing you know, the game is in a different state that you completely thought you were in.
I think you're going to get to keep that factory world. This is bad news.
Ooh, that is bad news for you if that happens.
So you mentioned the little guy, and 7. I don't have kids, but I would imagine 7 is right on the cusp of some really fun things, and I would imagine he is starting to look at Dad's passion for gaming, and he's starting to eye it up. How is that coming along?
Oh, absolutely. He's been gaming for a while. We started out with him. One of the important things to us was to make sure that we read to him a lot, even as very very young all the way up, and then so he's kind of carried that a little bit. Not he's getting kind of like he'd rather play a game than read now, so we're trying to like steer that back a little bit. But I've been using it as a motivator. So he's definitely been playing games on his iPad for a long time, and then we recently this last Christmas we got a Switch for him. I have a PlayStation 4 that he's been playing. He actually plays that more than I do. I don't play it very much, and he's actually much further in some games than I've played, and he picks it up very well. He's played Hearthstone. He started
Oh
getting that a
wow.
little bit, not 100% understanding like the complexities of the game, but knowing it enough how to play, and then from there he picks it up very quickly. Star Realms is something that he has asked me for a little bit now to get in to start playing a little bit. So I did buy him his own starter deck, the core set, and we just haven't had the time worked out to sit down and have me go through it with him. But as far as the reading motivator was referring to, is I let him know, like for Star Realms, some cards have a fair amount of text on them and some don't. And rather than kind of when I show him, I'll break it down and we'll show him the basics. But I kind of want him to be able to start understanding some of the cards as he goes along, because that's how he works. He picks up games extremely fast. Um, he enjoys playing Ticket to Ride, and all the regulars like Monopoly and Clue and all that good stuff. Sorry, he loves board games, Uno, Crazy Eights, all that good stuff. And so on the video game front, we held him off from Fortnite for a long time. Mom is not big on him playing games with guns, but obviously if you look at that game, it's very cartoonish. It's not realistic at all. So she was more on board with that. So he started playing that, but we're very aware of his interactions online and making sure that he doesn't use voice chat unless he's playing with Dad or playing with his cousins, stuff like that. And so, as some people have pointed out, he did get me into a little bit of playing Fortnite with him. Um, I've played first-person shooter games for ever. Going back to like Wolfenstein and Quake and Doom, and I played all the way up, everything from Battlefield to Call of Duty to Battlefront, anything really. So I never got into Fortnite though. The building aspect when the game came out, I tried it a couple times. I I just like have a mental block about it. I hate it, so I don't want to learn it, and so I just didn't play it. So he's finally got me to play, and from there I can get by enough without having to do much building. I found out because we don't play against very many good people. It must be like a skill bank or skill ranked matching, is what I'm assuming. Obviously, we're super low level, and so we get wins. It's amazing, and he's actually, like I said, he's a little bit better than I thought he would be at it. He can go in there and he can actually take some people down. So it's fun. It's just something we can do together. And he obviously, like any other kid his age, he watches a ton of YouTube. He's been watching that for a while. So he watches these kids that are streaming with their dad and stuff like that. So he wanted to get into some of that. And
Yeah.
so me and him have done some streams together a little bit here and there on some of the games that he likes. That's a
So
very long-winded version.
no, that's great. That I appreciate that. I do think it's really interesting. I remember early on it was discussed in the page what's the age that you introduce your kids to Star Realms, and I think what sort of popped out in my mind is 8.
Yeah.
And I think that you are making a really great point here that I don't know how much I thought about before. Star Realms can certainly help a kid with math, with memory, There's lots of things that it can help with. And because it's so icon based, I don't think of it as being reading intensive. But what you made me think about is how easy it is to become, I guess, lean on the icons and memory. And I think that you can hit a real sweet spot. I mean, if he becomes interested enough in Star Realms and he sort of perceives reading is going to help me get better at this.
Yeah.
That might be something you can really use to help push in a positive direction. And I'm glad you thought about that. That's awesome.
So I definitely looked at it like, if he wants to play some of these other board games that have a lot more text, or if he's seen some of the other cards from the other expansions. And for example, Unity Station out there right now, Unity Station has a fair bit of text on it. I want to make sure that he can read this, he can understand it, and if he can't, I say, okay, this is what we need to build towards if you want to be able to use this. And he's big on that. He's big on reward. He's big on like earning the ability to do things. So that's a big motivator for him. I don't know if a lot of people know, but the whole teaching mechanic, Magic the Gathering, Richard Garfield originally created Magic the Gathering to help his kids with math. And obviously you saw where it went from there. But that's why he originally created Magic the Gathering, was to help his kids with math. So I think you can use anything and turn it into a learning tool. And it's just a matter of your perspective and how you view whatever you're working with. And why you blowing up all my stuff?
I break toys.
I gotta be that guy.
It's what I do.
But so yeah, he, like I said, most of like any of his new games and stuff like that, if he gets, he definitely finds ways to earn them. Well, this is not good. Those are not the cards I wanted to see on top.
It's crazy though. You guys limited him on Fortnite until this age. I know that my coworkers, I was hearing them talk about their kids playing at 4.
Yeah.
And doing well. That's the thing that gets me. Yeah. Doing well, because I don't do well at 43.
So don't get me wrong. Like I said, I would watch him go on there. And again, for people that don't know, I do still actively play Call of Duty, and I play other like first-person shooter games. So definitely can hold my own, understand the concepts of the games, and so I would see him, and like he's like not even aiming straight, or he's not even picking, just little things like that. All of a sudden we start playing though, and he's killing people. He's taking people down, and he's not just going around murdering people, but he's able to actually like defend himself against another player of his skill. So I was actually pretty impressed with that. And that's, like I mentioned, some kids pick it up, some kids don't. And, or they either do because they get that ability, the opportunity to. So, kidding.
No, I think you hit it on, I think you hit it on the head. They've got the opportunity. I think back to some of the games that I played as a kid, some of the games that you probably played as a kid that today are listed like on the hardest games lists. And you go in to play it and you're like, why would someone play this? This isn't even fun. I'm just dying over and over and over. And as an adult, that happens for about 5 minutes, and suddenly you start doing a time evaluation thing and you're like, this is not a good use of my time. Yep. But as a kid, you just keep playing it and playing it and playing it because this might be the only Nintendo game I get for another 3-4 months. Yep. And this is the one I chose in the store based on the cover, unfortunately, and this is the game I'm stuck with.
And now you're playing Pac-Xanadu or something like that, or
Top Gun.
I remember, yeah, oh yeah, try to land on the aircraft carrier the first couple times. Yeah, exactly, just like you said. Back then, it was just a whole different story compared to now. And plus, also now there's, not saying they make it easier, but there's usually more like clues of what to do, more tips of how to do it. Or again, you've also got YouTube. He'll play one of these Five Nights at Freddy's games, or he'll play something like this, and they're kind of basically puzzle games. And then he's like, well, let's go look this up and figure out how to do what we need to do. And so, like, we play it together on the computer. We've got the game on one screen, we've got the YouTube video on the other showing us what we need to do or where the tip is. And you kind of go that way. So it's definitely like that. So there is not what I wanted to see. Oops, I wanted to... There we go. That'll work. So let's find. I don't know if I've stealth needle anything. Did I buy that early? I can't remember. I think I did something earlier. It wasn't that impressive, obviously. I don't remember it. Do this, do this, do this.
So something else that
Trying to stay
Dustin
alive here, people.
is really into is retro gaming. I know I can throw Nintendo references at Dustin because he's going to get every single one. And you're active in. I guess there's. I guess it's trade groups. I mean, you're constantly trading, getting new old games. So does Lucas? Is he interested in any of that, or does that feel like old stuff to him? Is it?
Nope. He definitely. I don't know if he values it the same way that I do, because mine is definitely more from a nostalgia factor. But yeah, I've gotten in and out of game collecting for a long time. I have a large NES library still. I've got some of the other systems still. I've gotten rid of some over the time as well because some they just do collect dust after a while, and I want to move on from something. Anyways, whatever. But he definitely has. We've had the Nintendo busted out, and now that a few years back when they came out with the NES Classic Mini and the SNES Classic Mini, I had ROM versions on like a Wii before where everything's modded on there, but those I really liked because it was very high quality. Everything looked nice, it ran well, and it had like the actual old controllers. So I figured I just got that for the heck of it, and then he wanted to play right away. And actually, he didn't play the NES one right away. He played the SNES right away, and he wanted to play Turtles in Time. And he, obviously, the little kid, loves Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. He's probably got everyone made. It's ridiculous. And so he got really, really into it, and then he was playing that game and absolutely loved it. So, nope, he does love it. He still wants to play it once in a while over, whatever the latest game is on the Switch or the latest game on the PlayStation is. He really digs all types of games. And he digs, like any other kid, he digs what he sees. So he watches these YouTubers and they're playing certain games or whatever, but those older games he definitely digs. He likes Super Mario Brothers. Hasn't got the concept of that one really down enough to be necessarily that great at it, but he does dig the older games for sure. Am I dead?
I don't know why I'm overthinking this.
You need 4 more damage.
Yeah, I got it.
There you go. You got it right there.
I'm all considering buying my incinerator.
Yeah, that game just kind of got away too. I think I got that early Factory World. I got that early Stealth Needle. And I just don't think I did much with them.
We're just chatting away. I think I had the scrap.
Yeah, that could have been. I had like no scrap for forever there. I'm gonna change up the format here a little bit.
So I feel like I should know the answer to this, and I don't. If give me like your one and maybe a runner up for NES games all time. If you're gonna go back and just play one to scratch an itch, what you gonna play?
Mike Tyson's Punch-Out.
Solid.
I think overall my favorite game is Tecmo Super Bowl. But if I want to go scratch an itch. I want something that's going to take me right back to my childhood. I remember playing this at my friend's house. My friend Russell, his parents they had the open house. This is where like 3-4 of us would go like every weekend to hang out. We had sleepovers there all the time. And they were very well off, and they let us do whatever we wanted. So it worked out well. But
everybody knows one of those houses growing up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So they were the family. They had the game room. They had 3 stories of their house. And I came from not a lot, so for me that was very cool on top of it. And they were very nice people. But anyways, so yeah, that game alone, like I said, will just instantly transport me back there. Many other games will kind of take me back in time as well, but that game, we figured out that game ourselves. Even though the Nintendo Power magazine was out and they would give you tips and tricks, they called the Nintendo Hotline. You could get tips that way as well. But we figured out how to beat the different boxes in that game.
You know what's really sad? I didn't even call it that often. I got to call it like once a month. Mm-hmm. But I still have it in my head. 1-206-885-7529 was the Nintendo helpline.
That's awesome.
Wonder if it's still the Nintendo hype. We should call it. That'd be really
So
funny.
there was a documentary on Netflix. I can't remember which one it was, and they had a guy, and he went through his whole experience of how he started in the Nintendo Hotline call center, and like how they basically had nothing. They did literally have to play the games to learn it, and they had like these giant, thick, printed out materials that you had to produce yourself to get your own tips and tricks for when people called. And it just sounded like it was the worst thing in the world, but it was pretty cool. I'm going to change it just a little bit, cut some of this out.
I've got to go back every now and again and play through Final Fantasy 1.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 1's so good. You might not remember them. Do you remember the Lobrenses? Joe and Jamie, there's like 4 brothers, but like 2 of them were really big into Magic.
Barely.
So they would, I keep typing MattTheCutter. I don't know why. So they would challenge each other to that game, and they would give each other challenges. Like, you have to beat the game with all white wizards. Or you have to beat the game with like 2 rogues, and the rest of your party has to die. It was just crazy, the challenges they would put each other through. And I always got a real kick out of that. But yeah, that game will take you back as well, for sure. Ooh, what kind of sauce do we have here? I could see something working here.
Yeah, I need to actually take a cue from your son. I've got the Turtles pinball machine showing up here in November. I have gone back and watched the 87 series. I've gone back and watched a movie, but I have not gone back to play any of the video games here yet. I have played most of them, and I know that is considered the one, right?
Yeah.
Turtles in Time.
Yeah. I mean, Turtles in Time to me is probably the best, and then there's just the regular 4-player one. The original Nintendo Turtles game is super hard. If you're looking for a challenge, that's one. It plays a lot differently. It's a side scroller. Again, it's just very tough is the best way I could put it. But and it's weird. It's like a side scroller when you're in the sewers, but when you're on top of when you're running through town, it's like a top-down view. It's a little bit different that way. But it's fun. Very hard, but fun.
I wasn't quite a Turtles kid. I think you probably missed it a little bit too, right? We were just a little bit old, but
yeah, not so much on like the toys. I think I just missed the toys. But yeah, the movie still came out. The original one still definitely came out when it's probably like middle school. So yeah, I was just getting a little too old for it at that point. I'll say, with the kid watching some of the shows, some of the newer cartoons, they're actually really good storylines. There's alternate universes. There's different versions of the Turtles and how they sometimes run into each other. It's not super cheesy. There's been a couple where I was like almost kind of questioning like if he would get some of the concepts, and he definitely did. So there's a Turtles also too. They have a game. It's a card collecting game, but where you have guys and they can do battles, and then you collect more of the cards of this character to build up this character's abilities. There's 49 million different clones of these games, but he's been playing that on the iPad forever, and so he got me into that as well. And we both played it for a while, and he stopped and just got back into it. But that also helped too, because the Turtles universe has way more characters now than I had ever even thought they would have. Let's see here. So I think we're just going to do this here. Give it a go. But yeah, I'm excited to see that Turtles machine when you get that in there. I want to see a setup on there. I'm expecting a pinball stream.
I'm hoping to stream actually pinball before I get it, because I'd like to still stream at least once or twice with Iron Maiden. I've had it for 2 years. I'm pretty decent at it. It's going to take me a while to probably get decent at Turtles. But now that we have the tech issues worked out, it's just a matter of getting the stuff. The rig for streaming pinball is a little bit involved. because you end up using at least 3 cameras. Most use 4.
Mhm.
And you got to get stuff like a little boom stand and stuff for your mic, and yeah, no, it's involved, but it's a thing, and I really enjoy it. I do watch Flippin' Out, that is Jack Danger and his pinball streaming.
Yeah, and there's that guy that I told you I just started watching because I saw you randomly watching him. Dead Flip or something like that.
Yeah, Dead Flip. That's Jack Danger. Yep. Flip.
Okay, yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said Flippin' Out, and that's actually a different outfit. You were right. You were actually right. It's Dead Flip. You're.
So Matt knows a lot about pinball. But yeah, so Matt was randomly just watching this guy on Twitch one day, and I had no idea who he is. So I just hop on there, and he's actually super entertaining. He does a pinball stream, and he's got like 30 machines in this room all set up. And then Matt told me, yeah, he actually like works for the main company, and he does all this stuff. So that was kind of cool. Let's do this. What is this? All right. Little patience rewarded, huh? If I get my act together, maybe I can pull this one off. We'll see. But yeah, as far as like the games, like I said, he definitely digs the older games and the newer games.
Man, I do not know what to do here. Okay. I think. Got a lot of green there, sir.
A little bit. I got your color on lockdown. So it's funny you mentioned how in Magic the Gathering I was such a blue player. I just assumed when I started playing this game, blue was blue, and I was going to be a blue player again. Well, obviously, you got to work with all the colors in this game if you want to be successful. I naturally gravitated towards Star Empire. Dustin Klingman, back in the day when you guys were Mega Holland together, he did a phenomenal job of explaining how that's what Star Empire is. It's a control color. And at first, I'm not going to lie, I was kind of like, what are you talking about? Like, this isn't counter. You can't compare counter spells to discard. But in this game, you really can, because making your opponent discard and limit their hand is countering their ability to do stuff on their turn, by all means. And that is how you accomplish that goal. And that's funny, like I said, I don't know if I ever told him that. I legitimately thought he was kind of like off his rocker a little bit when he said that. But it was 100% true. And I really changed my thought process on it.
And what's really interesting, during that early time, I guess we're talking mostly during core, there was an element of risk and reward to yellow. And you even had people coming on the cast. I mean, didn't even Chris, wasn't one of his bigger tips just don't play yellow? I mean, there was actually a thing where some of the better players were avoiding yellow, or at least advising newer players to stay away from it, because I think a lot of people understand. I mean, a lot of it had sack abilities, and if you overplayed it, you might find yourself short on damage and then nothing in the deck to finish it off. But if you wait too long to sack stuff out, then you don't even see your opportunity. But over time, as I think it's been the most improved faction, I don't know if you feel the same way, or I don't.
Definitely do 100%.
Is that risk even still there, or is yellow just really, really good now?
I personally feel if you don't play it carefully, it can be a little harder to get to work together to gel in your deck, where some of the other colors I think just naturally work a little bit easier, except now they've really altered that. Before, I think it was obviously a little trade light. But, I mean, when they come out with cards like Farm Ship, and I'm drawing a blank on the name, the new cutter, the new
Cargo Craft?
Cargo Craft. Yeah, when they come out with those two cards, I'm just like, that completely changes. Like, I will gladly take, obviously, Farm Ship for sure, because it scraps itself, but Cargo Craft, early deck, as my only yellow card, I got no problem with that. It's gonna give me trade. It's gonna make them discard bare minimum. If we're playing heroes or something, I got a better chance of comboing it for that 4 damage, which is huge. That's awesome. But yeah, 100% agree with that. It's easily the most improved color, and they've done a lot of good work with it. The bases, you got Imperial Palace, and then you've got Imperial Flagship, obviously, and Eddie and all the big ships. But I think they really amped it up. What do I want to buy is the question. I know what I want to do. I want to do that. Do I want to leave you that bounty hunter?
One of my favorite
the bounty hunter is the question here.
One of my favorite aspects of yellow is that separate from building your deck and separate from damage race, all that kind of stuff. If you go hard yellow, what you're also building for is to engineer that sick discard for 3, 4, or more at the time that it counts. And when you hit that, and your opponent, could be throwing their phone, whatever, it is a good feeling, and it's satisfying.
Yep. When you get hit, even with that late game, you look at what they've got. They've got like the Imperial Fighter, and they've got a survey ship, and they've got something else. You're thinking, I'm going to hit with a 1. Maybe just when they get that extra random 1 or 2 more discard on top of it. Again, late game, you drop 3 cards from your hand. You're probably scrapped out of starters or majority. You're looking at factioning a couple of different cards in your hand together. It can be absolutely devastating end of game. Let's see here. It's not really what I wanted, but I'll take it.
Uh-oh.
Oh, give me my hero back.
You don't need it.
I guess that hero will work. Oh, I'm sorry, do I got to kill? Look at me. I'm pulling a mat. Sorry about that. I didn't even realize it was there.
I was wondering if you were going to be slightly short and then forget you had the gambit.
Nope. And then, of course, we had it without it. Oof. I throw the chaos in there, and we pull one off.
So some other me and Dustin highlights. I was Dustin's best man. And separate from all the fun that came with that, I mean, it meant I got to spend a full week at the Bremer residence. Something that would certainly not have happened otherwise. And that whole trip was a lot of fun. Just the whole experience was great.
So I call up Matt and say, all right, I'm popping the question. This is happening. This is after that. It's funny because I actually got engaged in Vegas after Matt had moved from Vegas. And it never lined up that while Matt was in Vegas, I was never lined up so I could go visit him while he was there. It was dumb, but whatever. So I called Matt. We're preparing for the wedding, and obviously I want to ask him to be my best man. And Matt, even though at that point had been living across the country for several years now, we still kept in contact. Still call each other regularly. Playing online games together and stuff like that. It's just, Matt, they say that you have those certain people that you can just pick up and talk to them, and it's like you just talked to them yesterday. It's really like that. Me and Matt have gone months and months and months apart. We've had stretches where we've just both been very busy, and then I'll just randomly text him, "Hey, you got a minute?" He's like, "Sure," and we will just talk for 2 hours. Like, no big deal, nothing. And so we've had that friendship and that bond, which is pretty special. So anyways, yeah, Matt is going to. It was pretty nice. Matt was able to get off work for the week. I think he pulled some things where he bought some time off or whatever, and then Exactly. So we scheduled it. So I had my bachelor party the week before, and then me and him hung out the whole week. I don't know if that made my wife the happiest though, because she was doing more of the wedding planning stuff than I was, probably to make it successful. But it was nice. We were able to do some of that stuff, and got our time to hang out and game and do things during that time as well. Um, so yeah, it was a ton of fun. And then Matt, of course, morning after the wedding, we're at the
Mm.
hotel. He goes back to my house and loses his car keys. And Matt's got to drive from,
Yeah, no, I'll tell this story
at
in a
the time,
sec.
Appleton to Milwaukee
To catch a plane.
to catch a plane. It was, oh my goodness, it was such a ruckus.
As a
Um,
yellow fan, how much of a gift was this Frontier Hawk?
oh, it's phenomenal. You get that early, you're getting three and basically cycling out a useless card. Especially, if you can combo with anything. But yeah, Frontier Hawk is phenomenal. I love it. It's one of those, if it's out there, I'm probably buying it first turn every time. Again, that's also a yellow card. It doesn't need to be yellow. It just for the 3 damage and cycling a card, it can be colorless as far as I'm concerned. The fact that it is yellow and it has a chance of factioning with yellow is a bonus.
So yeah, it was a disaster. I couldn't really fully partake in the reception because I did. I had to leave. Um, I had to leave at like 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. to get the car back to my mom's and then get to Milwaukee and catch a flight. And it's late Saturday night, Sunday morning, and I haven't seen my keys since Tuesday.
Yeah, if you parked your car, you didn't have any reason to use it.
And I'm pretty sure they're downstairs, but also downstairs is Laurelyn's teenage sister at the time.
Yep. So
So creepy dude
she was
rummaging
staying over
around.
to dog sit for us. Um, yeah, so you got strange older guy sneaking around the house. Sets it up real nice.
And I did. I went down there 3 or 4 times and crept around, which if she was pretending she was asleep had to be terrifying. And and my poor mom, who's 2 hours away and sleeping, gets a call from me and it's, "Do you have another set of keys?" "Yes. I need you to get out of bed. I need you to drive to Appleton." No, was that Nina at the time? That was Appleton, right?
No, it was Appleton. It
Yeah.
was even a little bit further.
And my mom, she's a champ.
Yep.
She never complained. She got us to a parking ride where we dropped off her car. She then drove me to the airport, and then her and my stepdad had to go back and get the other car. It was, and I couldn't call anybody. I'm not going to call you on your wedding night. And,
Yep.
and even the people that we'd spent time with at their house earlier that day, I couldn't call like Lee. I mean, it was a disaster.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you the resolution here in a second. Let me play my turn. Do I care about 5? I
I
think
don't know.
4
You need five?
works. We'll take the 6 life. And missions, I would have taken the card, unless I had diversify.
Yeah, that was a good example there where normally I always buy the trade this early in the game. I need to kill the base. You, that extra trade, not really going to do you a ton. Might as well take the life.
So what I figured out, well, I guess I'll say first. So Dustin lets me know what about 10 days after it was after the honeymoon. You get back, you're cleaning up, and my keys are in a random paper bag
Yep. A
that
random gift bag.
that had been given to me to give to you. I am out of the loop. I was not aware until that point that husbands and wives give
Oh,
each other wedding morning gifts. and go back to the Tuesday before. I had been meeting a friend at a restaurant bar, and somebody from her wedding party came by to give me that gift. A watch, was that correct?
Yeah, it was a watch and a wallet.
In between the bar and Dusto's place, I stopped at a convenience store, and then at Dustin's place, I dropped my Rockstar. So I bend down to pick up the Rockstar, throw the keys in the bag, grab the Rockstar, go in the morning of the wedding, give Dustin the bag with the gift and my keys.
Now, the bag had the gift paper in it, so the keys had worked their way to the bottom of the bag and somehow like under the gift paper. So I pull the gifts out. I would have no reason to keep looking in the bag. And I kind of literally just put it on a cabinet or something and didn't look at it again. And obviously, you know, Matt at that point, that was when he got that Tuesday night, it was the last time he used the car for the whole week.
Yeah.
I drove us everywhere after that. And
so now,
it worked out.
anytime I'm anywhere where I'm looking for my keys on the way out, or a friend is here and they're looking for their keys, I think of that story. I'm like, you might not find them, and then someone's got to come get you, and you're waiting on a plane, and I'm thinking back. I don't get stressed too often. That's one of the times I was more stressed. I don't know that a time I can remember since.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty crazy when I got your, you know, you called me later when you were already on your way down just to let me know. And I got that message and I'm like, what? What is going on? And yeah, it's just funny. Well, let's see what we can do here. I'm getting beat down here again already, but I feel confident in the damage available in my deck here to still do something. I want to grab this. I want to make something happen. Ooh, we're going to shuffle up the deck. And make sure I do that mission right, because that is the mission that everyone does wrong. So the bad thing about pulling that mission is double light cruiser going into the discard. So yeah, it was obviously, you know, it was special for me, for Matt to be able to come out there, be there for the bachelor party, spend the week, and then be there for my wedding. You know, most people, you know, I've been in many other weddings where someone's crossed, like, they show up the day of the wedding or the day before, you know, and you just deal with what you got. Let's see here, what do we want to do? I think we want to do this number. We will get a little more defense going. We are starting to scrap out a little bit, not quite a ton yet. I think, you know, we are going to get rid of this. Even though I want to kind of save that to do the extra damage and discard, especially being able to faction it. At this point, I need to thin this deck out as fast as possible. You've got bases, you've got life gain. You've got that pulverizer, which is going to keep smashing. Yep, there we go. Smashing big things on the row. Speak of the devil.
So I'm in blue with the ion station, so I'm tempted for that boat, but my instinct is just to keep grabbing that scrap.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I don't know which one is either right or wrong. I think in that situation there, I'm grabbing the boat every time. Only because that one is situational scrap and it's from the discard only. So, granted, it still does 5 damage. But if you hit that, like in an opening draw, and it's kind of a waste, and you certainly didn't. So, you got that right away. Look at you. Look at you, champ.
Well, I do have 2 of them.
Oh, that's the second one. Okay,
Yeah.
I was like, did he top deck that thing already? Yeah, we're getting beat down here.
So I'm in a weird spot where suddenly all of my valuation is really thrown into chaos here, because now participating in endurance based events and I don't want to say that's new. I mean, that does certainly go all the way back to an endurance challenge. I just hadn't played in one of those in a long, long time. So
Yeah.
to me, an endurance-based realms is a little bit new again. But there, and we talked about this a little bit last week with the Mystic. It it's kind of fun because you experience an entirely different valuation system and scale, and it forces you to kind of relearn and re-experiment, and suddenly cards that you didn't think of as amazing before become they offer a lot more, and suddenly bombs. I mean, things that were already good like Construction Hauler just become MVPs.
Yep.
And again, we've talked about it. I feel very much the same about missions, which I'm pounding right now. And I do feel you do kind of put it out there. You feel not super awesome about playing missions. And there is some reluctance, and I'm sure me and Brian will talk about that next week. That's next week. Brian Machen will be on Brian Stupid, and we're going to deep dive missions. But tell me some specifically, what are some of your reluctance points as missions are suddenly kind of popular with unicorns, and maybe people discovering that they have some strategic value a little more than we thought even. What are some of your thoughts on them?
So, yeah, obviously no secret, and I don't try to make it any sort of secret. Not a big fan of missions. And it's not for the fact of missions are missions. It's because missions are the alternate win condition. I just, I've got burned a couple times of very early mission wins, or if they're playing a very chaotic format where all of a sudden you just pull one out of nowhere. Anyone who's had these soul crushing, you're stuck on 2 missions forever, and then the other person finishes 3 missions in a row, 3 turns in a row. It really can grate on you. By all means, this is still definitely a game where I want everyone to play whatever they're going to play. And like when I throw out my open challenges, send me missions, whatever. I'm going to say something about it, but I'm certainly going to play it. But yeah, my biggest thing is the alternate win condition for sure. In a perfect world, I like them. I like the little bonus they give you, and I would love if they had the ability to just do that, where it didn't also give you the win condition on top.
And yeah, I'm certainly not in a position to defend the, I guess the design or decision to make it an alternative win, nor to talk you into playing missions. I very much stand by what Dustin Klingman talked about. We talked about last week, and that Star Realms is great because you self-govern and you play at this point what's become a very custom game. But what's interesting to me, and I think the reason that I brought it up here in this context is just that having now another context, a mode where suddenly my whole valuation is skewed and I have to rethink about it and play it consciously is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
It's new challenges, and it's playing what I would argue in this context isn't an alternative win condition, but an asymmetric win condition, where I'm not looking at it as an alternative win conditioning. I'm looking at damage as the alternative win condition. And again, I think that is really what has inspired me. Just having some new challenges. And again, I will obviously be deep diving that pretty well next week too.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that, and I do enjoy seeing the success that people have with it. You posted, you talked about how your win percentage when you're focusing on that, drastically went up. It sounds like it plateaued a little bit again, which can happen, but I do enjoy seeing the unicorns out there for sure. Man, I just can't put you away. And so, yeah, I definitely get that. And from that perspective, for sure, for me, like if I'm entering an event and I know missions are part of it, that's a little bit different. But for just random games, yeah, like I said, to me, by all means, what you said is a great point. It's another way to play, but this game, 10,000 plus games in, and that's again nothing compared to like yourself and Brian and some of these people, but every single game just seems different. None of these games seem the same already as it is. And maybe that's just my approach to it. Maybe that's just my thought process of it. What are you hyped under there? Blob Miner?
This wormhole is ridiculous at the end of the game. Being able to put a card in your hand on an event from your discard. Unbelievable.
Yes, it's dumb.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, but those at least are so random. You can only, we've talked, ad nauseum about events and how you can try to play around them and try to best set yourself up for success with them and whatnot. Oh man, you get the Explore mech. Really? Oh my god.
Sorry, buddy. Dug for it again.
So in my hand, Light Cruiser, Frontier Hawk, Moonworm Hatchling, Crusher.
Ouch.
I just couldn't get through it at the end. You're just able to put up just enough of a defense to hold me off there. Man. All right, let's try something different. I did like switching that format up there. I will do...
I can only take a little bit of credit for that. That wormhole absolutely let me back in the door.
I wasn't paying super close attention. Did that get the destroyer out for you? Or
Yeah,
whatever the scrapper is that blows up a base?
No, I had that in hand, but I did need... Okay. It let me get one of the other bots for 5 pair, and yeah, pairing it to kill the base, all of it, yeah, it was pretty nice.
Yeah, you get some of those later events, and that's one of those things where we always talk about like how events work differently in the app versus the paper version and stuff like that. That whole argument when people were talking about, I didn't really care. It's like, for me, they've got to make the app work a certain way. And, especially when Darwin was on Mega Holland way back in the day and explained why they made the decisions they did. And to me, it just made sense. Now, granted, there's that push to try to get the quote-unquote pro version out there. Sure, by all means, if you can make it happen, do it. But I'm not going to sweat them at all for how they made the game because of how well it plays.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's a slightly different game than the paper version, and maybe I also take that stance too because I play so little of the paper version. There's not a lot of people around me that play it, and there are people though, but I don't have time, honestly, like I used to, between work, family, all that good stuff. That's the nice thing about online games. Just being able to sit down and play at any time, especially a game like this. I can play with anyone in the world. There's always a game available. Or if there's people you play with regularly, you both can just take your turns whenever. There's so much to be said about how this is set up. Eventually I'd like to, get back into a little bit of the paper version. As you know, and some other people may know, I found out that DG3 and Lady G3 apparently live 500 feet away from me or something ridiculous like that. It's like a block away. So I'm sure we're gonna meet up at some point and maybe get some games in, or just be neighborly and I'll introduce myself to them.
Yeah.
So yeah, the goal is to get back towards that. And like I said, right now, just with the COVID and working and everything, just not a lot of time to mess around.
Yeah, listen, everyone is bummed out about COVID, but in particular, we got robbed of our face-to-face time.
Oh my God, we did. I was so pissed. So Matt and I haven't met up in face-to-face in a few years now. Matt comes up to visit his mom or, family events or something to Wisconsin, and sometimes he'll have like an extra day in there, or sometimes literally he's flying in one day, he's flying out 2 days later or whatever. So I totally get that, and I want to respect the time he has with his family. But usually he would plan his trip, and then he would always book an extra day or so that we would just hang out for the day, and that just hasn't happened lately. And I haven't really had the opportunity to come out there in a few years. So yeah, our big thing this time was we were talking. I take that back. White Wizard Games Fair has been like our connection point. Most recently, 2016, 2017, that worked out well. We were both able to get out there for that, hang out the whole time. That was fantastic. So now Origins this year, we're going to do it up. We got a Airbnb. It was a block and a half away from Origins, and we were actually going to go out there a couple days early, hang out. We were going to go there the whole time, take our sweet time, get there and back, and then this happened, and just rip that away from everybody. Let alone us, getting our time to hang out. So
Yeah, I was looking
that
at
was quite the bummer.
possibly flying into Milwaukee and then driving with you to Ohio. That would
Yeah,
have been
I was gonna
great.
pick him up on the way, and we're gonna cruise from Wisconsin to Ohio, and then he's gonna fly out from Ohio later. And yeah, that was a bummer. That was a serious bummer. Grab that action here. Ooh. Do we want the assault pod or do we want to scrap instead? What do you got going on here? Oh, you've got some good stuff. You've got some greens. They'll love that assault pod. How bad is it going to be for me missing a scrap? I could just grab spike pod instead. I'm going to do that. I'm committed to the scrap this game. I've got early scrap, and I have to link up Patrol Mech to get it to work. I'm not going to pass that up. Yeah, Murder House too. I heard plenty about the Murder House. It's funny you mention that because we had actually offered to split with Sam and Sarah if they were still looking late. I think they were going to stay maybe with Brian and Stephanie, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think I was going to. I was big on doing the big group thing, like what happened that one time the year before. Maybe in my younger days, living a little more wild. Matt will also tell you I'm basically narcoleptic. I'll just zonk out of the blue. It just hits me, and I'm like, yeah, I'm out. I'm good.
So hopefully we will get conventions this next year.
Yep.
And hopefully you and I will each get to one, whether it's Origins or whether we pick a different one. Are there other conventions you have thought about? I mean, we typically haven't really planned this and thought about that. Origins kind of just became, I don't want to say it became the White Wizard Game Fair, but it became the event where they showcase and feature their biggest tournaments. So I think that we were naturally drawn towards Origins for that reason. I mean, down the line, do you have interest in getting to an Indianapolis-based Gen Con or maybe a PAX of some sort?
Origins and Gen Con would definitely be my top two choices for multiple reasons. First of all, they're close enough where I can just drive. And that way it's also nice too because then if you stay there, I don't have to rent a car. I don't have to worry about transportation otherwise. Or like I said, if you do, I can just drive there if I need and then Uber on it. Anyway, so Origins, I've never been to one. So that's kind of a goal for that. Gen Con, I have not been to one since they were in Milwaukee. And so that also would be kind of cool too. Again, same area would be cool for that. Also, it does seem like there's a large Star Realms presence there, or a large White Wizard Games presence there, which is attractive to me as well. And we've got a number of community members that sound like they are pretty committed to going to those events there. So PAX is something I may be interested in. I know it's very popular and probably has a lot of the same stuff. But those two just kind of seem to stick out as far as like the front runners. But for sure, I talked about that with my wife, and assuming they're going next year, that would be a goal to try to get that figured out to see if we can get to one of those together.
So local friends, convention goers, really do. My friend Ed would very much like to get to the PAX that is out west.
Okay.
It's just that the cost breakdown on
Yeah,
that
pretty
versus
ridiculous.
Origins was significant. Origins felt like you were kind of conventioning on a budget compared to that.
Yeah.
Andy talked about it having typically an annual overfill. Like it's overfill. You end up having to get a lot of tickets after the fact for marked up prices. What am I doing here?
I got no interest in. Yeah, that's. I got no interest in something like that. A friend of mine, he's gone to BlizzCon for, I think every year it's been out. He's, um, he's been playing World of Warcraft since it first came out. I did too, but I've stopped again. I started stopped anyways. But so he was talking about that, how the conventions out there are just, they're not even in the same ballpark as far as like cost wise. Um, just anything on that west coast there, whether it's up in Seattle or whether it's down in California, just is a whole other world. Let's see, I'm kind of in the same boat as you, trying to figure out what I'm doing here. Trying to make sure I don't lose focus on my deck here. And you are putting together some good damage. Make sure we scrap this out here. And I need to keep applying the pressure here. But yeah, exactly. And I think that, to me, doing like an Origins or Gen Con just kind of makes the most sense, economic wise, availability wise, travel wise. But who knows? Getting to one again would be nice. Obviously, I would love if White Wizard Games Fair came back and maybe they redid it or rescheduled it. I just think that second one, when they were the same weekend as PAX Unplugged, that just murdered them. And it sounds like that was just PAX came out with the schedule late, and by then it was kind of too late to reschedule the White Wizards Game Fair. So it's just kind of screwed them. But yeah, I mean, if you remember the year before compared to that one, it just wasn't even the same thing at all. But very fortunate to even go to those. When we went to that first one, we went out there, same thing. We went out there early. I think we were there a day or two early. And then we got to meet so many people that I don't know I would have met in the community besides that. We hung out with Damola and his friend Magnar quite a bit. We got to meet, Benjotron, Madam, and obviously a lot of these other people that we didn't know at all, even from the app, like Birdlaw, and just all these great people that I don't think we would have had the opportunity to otherwise. So I'm very grateful for that.
So as we talked about, we can see there's a good chance that you've got a very passionate gamer coming up in your household. At what point, what age do you think you might feel comfortable? Obviously, this is a discussion for Laurel as well, of course. But what age do you think you might be willing to maybe bring him along to a convention?
It's going to be a bit. It's going to be a fair bit. We'll see. He's at that age. He's 7, where he does a lot of things. He's in karate. He does swimming. He has done a little bit of football, a little bit of soccer, a little bit of basketball. Nothing super serious. So for him, it's more just kind of keeping his focus a little bit. But I think at some point it'll happen. I'll then be that old dad bringing his kid to the convention. But I think it'll be a little bit more of maybe introducing them around here a little bit more, maybe some of the local shops. But I don't see the issues now. I don't go to them like I used to then. Very good friend of mine owns a shop in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, Flying Phoenix Games. I obviously used to work at House Heroes, Comics and Games, so I've got a lot of connections there, people that I know I can trust to be around. But even then, it's like, it's weird. It's like if they're just super competitive or whatever the case may be, then maybe it might not be as much fun. But I do know there's quite a few people that aren't that way as well. I think we have it here. If I'm looking at this right.
So you are
Yeah, we do.
you always have been very present and active in the Fox Valley sort of gaming. Good game.
Big game.
And I knew you were still getting to some shops that had popped up since I had been there. Obviously, I think Scott in House of Heroes is still there doing well.
Hmm.
So what is some of your other active sort of? Are you playing any Magic at all?
I. It's funny you mention it. As I mentioned, I've sold my collections over the years multiple times. Got back into it a little bit. Um, Commander is about the only thing that I play, or Elder Dragon Highlander. Some people call one or the other, and that's the only thing that's kept me in Magic at all, really. Um, the kiddo is, he got into Pokemon. We got him into that a little bit. He surprised me with a Magic deck out of nowhere. Him and the wife were shopping, and he got some cards and randomly got that for me. So, I plan on at some point showing him how to play that and introducing him, but it's just because I don't play it really at all right now. It's not really a top priority. Um, I do load up the MTG Arena app once in a great while, just because you can play for free if you're not competitive, you're not trying to be ranked. I'll go in there, I'll do a couple of the daily quests or whatever, get a pack, open it up, see what's going on. But honestly, besides that, no. Um, I was over the past few years, I would still go to pre-releases and sealed deck tournaments. I think they might be called something different now, but it's where you go there and you get 6 packs to make your deck. To me, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't send you one, but I'll definitely take yours. I like that. And to me, that is my favorite type of Magic. I much prefer having the challenge of trying to build a deck on the spot, limited resources, and then that's what I have to use to win this tournament. There's a couple other app games I play that some of them use the same format for some of their missions. So I don't know if anyone's familiar with Clash Royale, but it is a card kind of game where you do have creatures, but you build up your cards. Anyway, so some of the war formats with that, you would get random cards that you'd have to draft. Same thing. Those are your creatures you had to use during that. So I was still doing that once or twice a year, and I was actually doing very well. I've won them. I've come in top 3, and I've come in top 3 against current players that are highly ranked in our area in competitive play. And almost none of them know me anymore. The old people know me, the shop owners know me, but I will beat some of these people, and they will just look at me like they've never even seen me before. They have no idea who I am. And not gonna lie, I get a kick out of that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So Dustin kind of talked me up a little bit Magic wise and talked about some success. That was great. In my formative days in Magic, he dragged me. I had no interest, but he dragged me to a 6th edition midnight pre-release 2 hours away in Madison.
Oh, by the way, you're driving.
I'm driving, and we don't have good. There was no GPS, and nobody really knew how to get. No freeways run between Oshkosh and Madison. You got to zigzag the state. It's.
Yeah.
In any case, Dustin took down a very game Bob Marr, and I believe we had also played Adrian Sullivan that night. These are big Magic names. At least at the time. I mean, you followed him more. Are those still pretty? Those are pretty still. Adrian's more about writing now, right? He plays Star Realms.
Yeah, Adrian's
he plays
still
Star
about writing,
Realms.
but he is also a very, very highly respected player in general. Bob Marr is a Magic the Gathering Hall of Famer. He won multiple Pro Tours. He's made, I don't know how much money, hundreds of thousands of dollars in Magic. And it may still be considered the best Magic player to come out of Wisconsin. So yeah, that was another thing like that. None of those people at that time knew who I was. We had gone down to some tournaments down in that area once in a while, but again, we were just some people from somewhere else in the state that had no clue. And Again, 6th edition pre-release. It's a sealed deck tournament, and took him down. And just the look on his face during the game as I was beating him, he was just like, "What is going on here?"
And it
And
was
it
pointed
was
out
like
to
one
me
of
right
those.
away who was
Good.
there. And then later, I remember being somewhere else with you, and someone heard your name, and they're like, "Yeah, I heard you beat Bob Marr." Like
Yeah.
word traveled fast, and even back at a
Yeah.
time where it wasn't internet word of mouth, it was tournament word of mouth. It was old fashioned word of mouth.
So I had we went to states, went to the state championship stuff, and I didn't do very well there. But yeah, someone mentioned it when I introduced myself, and Bob, he's a great guy. He's a fun guy, and I beat him down with a stupid card. It's called Wand of Denial, which is really what won me the game. All it is you can look at the top card of their deck, and if you want to, you can pay 2 life and put it on the bottom of their deck. So what I would do is anything I saw with it that would do more than 2 damage to me, I just paid the 2, put it on the bottom, and so I kept anything good from him away basically. And I had him sign that card for me. I approached him at the States. I said, "Hey, Bob," and he looked at me and he's like, "Hey," and I said, "This is weird, but would you be willing to sign this for me?" Because again, we knew him. He's a pro tour player at the time. He was very well known, and he just laughed and he said, "Sure." I still have that card.
It's
That's
awesome.
one of the few original cards that I have. I still have that card, even through all the times I sold all my collections. So I was pretty proud of that. But yeah, it's funny you bring that up. That night was a hoot. Like I said, we went down there. We did well. Um, I went to the bathroom just before the top 4, and because the tournament was taking so long and it was getting into the next morning, everyone decided to call in to split it. And I was kind of ticked because I wanted to win. I wanted to claim that, but I wasn't going to make a big deal if everyone else is cool with it. So, and then we got lost on the way home.
I barely remember. I was so tired.
Oh my god, I need to take my turn. I'm trying to figure out what. Okay, so I want to keep you away from that trade escort or buy it myself. I think that's my decision here. I think I'm going to keep you away from it. I'm sorry, I'm just sitting here taking my sweet time. I just want to get that protocol, and I just want to build up my economy here. But no, that was such a good time, and yeah, that's always been my preferred format. Um, I had actually, for anyone familiar with Magic, back in 4th edition and Ice Age, I had won a Mox Emerald from a sealed deck tournament for that, and this is back when you played for ante. So you and your opponent at the beginning of the game would flip over a top card of your deck, and you would play, and the winner would take both cards.
I
So
do like you. I miss the sealed format of limited. It seems like I don't know
so much fun.
whether Wizards decided this or the retail store industry decided this, but Draft did sort of take over as the overwhelming limited format, and maybe that sells more cards. Maybe it just cycles more people. I don't know what it is, but I never quite cared for it as much. I also very much like the sealed format.
Yeah, draft is nice because it's very sociable. You're all sitting around, and it's kind of cool because you have an idea what's in the pool out there because you see some of the cards from each pack. Um, Obviously, then they stopped producing starter decks also with the Headland built in, and these packs only have cards, and so I could see a number of reasons. Plus, you could get in easier too. You only use 3 packs each person in a draft. So as opposed to buying 6 packs or a starter and a couple packs, whatever the case may be. Let's see here. We want to. I don't know if I really want to do this. What do you got going on? I'm not even paying attention to your deck here. You got much better things going on than I do. I will say that. Ooh. I don't want to see that come up. Whatever. Alright, we're getting econ overload here. I probably shouldn't have bought that Explorer there, but whatever. I think this is one of those games too where I don't pay attention at all. I'm just getting completely whomped here.
Well, and my autopilot brain just takes damage. It's not even
Yep.
looking for resources.
Yeah. And me, I didn't have anything but resources, so I'm like, what's the least? So let's get rid of that. So maybe this will at least help a little with catching up. But yeah, as far as the gaming with him, like I said, he actually introduces me to games as well because he'll watch whatever YouTube guy he's watching play. We try to keep tabs on what he's watching, what he's playing, but some games that I didn't know about. There's a game called TABS. It stands for Totally Accurate Battle Simulator, and it's hilarious. It's just a goofy battle game where you can put guys out and then they'll battle each other and you can set it up. But just different stuff like that. That Ancient Warfare that I was streaming that one day, that's something he randomly saw online. Easy stuff to play. They're not expensive games.
It's pretty cool today, I think. I don't know that we grew up with parents that were gamers. My parents had a little cabinet full of board games, but they were kind of what you think of. But they did have some other cool ones in there, like Mastermind and Feudal and stuff, just some non-standard. But I will say, I'll give my dad a lot of credit. He did. I wasn't old enough for him yet. I was probably 8 or 9, but he got us Axis and Allies and the rest of the games in that series when they came out.
Nice, that's huge.
And let's do this correctly. He had the patience, or maybe the gaming desire. Now that I know it's in me, to learn and play, and that was very dice based. I mean, sometimes lose to like a 9 and 10-year-old at a very complex game. I mean, I think that Lucas is lucky. You're gonna be gaming the whole time, and I think that is something that you guys will always be able to share and build on. And it's one of the few things I am a little envious of as a guy without a family. You're getting in that age where I'm like, that's where I would want to fast forward to. But it's insensitive to say, but that's going to be so fun for you and for him.
Sense. Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. Well, that's not what we wanted. But yeah, my parents, kinda, I would say. Like my dad, I remember, he was into Atari, but it wasn't so much of like an actual like gamer. It was more of just like a casual guy that would play it. And so like when he got me my first Nintendo, he might have played Duck Hunt more than I played, stuff like that. But he was always so busy, and my dad was a manual labor guy. He was a roofer, and he was a contractor, and so it's not like he was like sitting down playing games a lot. But no, I think what you said, yeah, your family gaming experience definitely exceeded mine. I will say at a very early age, I got into gaming on my own and with my friends. And from there, we got into a lot of games, board games, role-playing games, Commodore 64, Apple, the old computer games, that we got into that. And for me, I didn't have very much of that stuff. I had a Nintendo with some games, but like we didn't have a home computer and stuff like that, and where some of my friends did. So I was able to experience that by visiting them, and really got into it that way. Let's see here. I'm getting whooped. Taking some damage. Not even close. Try to save face there. Do a little extra if I can.
And we're going to have just enough. No, we're going to be short.
You're going to drag it out another turn? Fine. Oh my goodness. That's gonna be a very exciting turn here for you too. I still got so many starters. I think is my issue here. I got Incinerator out once, and that was my only scrap the whole game.
And good game.
Good game for sure.
So at that point, Dustin, we are at the point where you have met your obligation. We are at midnight Eastern. We've had a fantastic conversation. I'm loving this. I'd be willing to continue, do one more game. I'd be willing to call it and wrap it up. What do you think?
I'm absolutely going to play one more game.
All right.
First of all, I don't go by Eastern time. Eastern time people can... Oh, wait, is Brian still here? No, I'm kidding. Yeah, absolutely. I will send another challenge. I'll send one final one here. And, by all means, this has been great. This is something that, like I said, for Matt and I, this is just sitting down, playing some games. This is something that we still try to do when we can. Even not just with Star Realms, like sometimes we'll play some Call of Duty together or something. There's not a lot of games we can play together so much because Matt's more of a console player than a PC player, and I'm more of a PC than console. But there are some things that we were able to get together and play. Let's see here.
And I don't think we play as much Star Realms as people might think.
We did. What I'd like to say is like we did. But now over the years, we've developed our own common opponents that we play a lot, or just the fact that you play so much more than I do as well. I think it's kind of lent to that. And I think, as you kind of mentioned too, there was a long stretch where you just basically completely backed out of leagues and tournaments. And you were just playing real-time games, and you were doing, whatever what you were doing at the time. Whereas me, because there's so many tournaments and leagues out there, that's basically all I play now. Just trying to keep up on those is sometimes a challenge. Let's see here. What do we want to do?
Yeah, just playing for the sake of playing or practicing against each other. Dustin really, he and I haven't done. We'll queue weird places like in Arena on the brief times I'll play Arena. Occasionally we'll just queue in the random. We do play team events together and don't typically fare well. And that is confirmed again recently. My fault, not his.
Well, it's funny you mention that because I
don't know that we can give specifics on that, by the way, as it's ongoing.
Well, yeah. So previously there was a 3-man leagues that we've done. And we had a team of me, Matt, and Chris Shaner. And this was years ago. And like we threw that team out there and people were just like, holy, what? All right, that's going to just walk all over everyone. I think we maybe finished second to last. It was just like, it for some reason just, didn't super gel.
Whereas the one that we did do really well together was his trios that he ran. He really sort of ran the first team tournaments in the group, from what I remember, and he came in and did a trios to try it out to sort of practice, and then he did a fives. And we did sort of kill that trios, but since then it's been pretty bad.
And I totally didn't use my War Elder there before I shuffled. That's all I'm doing. There's some pretty good stuff out there. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm one short of that Brain World.
That's what I like to hear. Sitting with double Viper in grip.
Yeah, and I think we're going to grab that pod.
Yeah.
So we can hopefully smash
it before I get it?
Yeah, I'm concerned about your political maneuver, though.
It's not going to do much for me this time, unfortunately. Oh, my goodness. That hurt. Guess I don't get to scrap again.
Only letting one go. We are going to punch that brain world.
Gets it right away, huh?
We are going to take the ram.
I don't think I did. Yeah, I think I was short. I'm breaking the rules, Matt. I'm looking at the chat. So.
Oh,
That's
you know,
hard.
you referenced something earlier too. You're like, you brought up Murder House. I'm like, I don't think I did.
Nope, sorry about that. Yeah, I was looking at the chat. Someone brought that up.
Since I don't know what the Murder House is, so.
So the murder house was you don't know what it is, the reference?
Mm.
Okay, so that was the house that everyone stayed at last year for Origins, where it originally was supposed to be apparently 4 people, and then 5 people, and then apparently next thing you know there's 12 people staying there. And I guess the Airbnb place, I guess it was pretty sketchy on top of it. So yeah, ask Sam or Brian or one of them about it. I'm sure they'd love to fill you in. Al will give you some good stories too.
I'm half tempted to take this market just because I have a Mega Mech and I like bouncing it, but I feel like the damage I've started is just probably gonna carry me through, and that would step me backwards.
Yeah. I would be hard pressed not to take it in that situation, but of course you flip me needle, which forces. Did I seriously just play that Viper again? All right, whatever. That flipping the needle forces me away from it. Yeah, the double imperial frigate, which is, if anyone's not familiar, that is my favorite card. It does everything. It does damage. It does discard. It does more damage if you faction. When you're done with it, you can cycle it out and draw a card. It does everything.
No arguments from this guy.
Oh, man. So I'm in a tough spot here. Star Market, which is obviously good no matter what, or getting that War World away from you. You've got the frigates. You've got the Mega Mech. I don't think there's really any choice here. We're looking at that Merc Cruiser or the Star Market. I think Merc Cruiser's got to be because you are way ahead on damage. I'm way behind. Let's get that going here. Can I piece together enough to get that machine world or machine base? 3, 4, 5, 6 that we can. You know what? We're going to do it. This is cutting out damage from my deck, unfortunately. But it's a big base. It draws and it scraps. We'll see if that helps out. What else have we not revealed? For anyone else that's still here or watches later. That's PC enough to say on stream. Because there was that odd college phase, experimental.
No, I guess just circling back, man, you have really been such a tremendous asset, separate from me as a friend to the community. You and Nathan did something kind of cool. You guys let me be the good guy. You let me be everyone's friend. I got to do the podcast and come on and just make fun comments. When there was drama in the page, you dealt with it. When there was drama in tournaments, Nathan dealt with it. I was never really put in a hard position. And the few times that someone did try to go around you guys and came to me, I said, I'm going to back my admins 100% of the time, and then it was done. And, you've been such a partner and such a good friend. And can't believe we're 6 years into this.
Yeah, that was the crazy thing when I was thinking about that. Like, it's been that long that this is not only, again, like I said, been going. I've played so many different card games over the years. Um, just Magic, Rage. I played a Vampire the Masquerade card game. I played multiple space. Oh man, there it is.
Good
And
game.
just like none of them like stick. The wrestling games and stuff like that. They have their niche, and it's like usually like 3, 4, maybe 5 years. But this game, honestly, with the support that White Wizard Games gives the continual developments of the cards, how they are, especially now that they're doing online Legend tournaments. I mean, that's awesome. We have such a thriving community on the Facebook group and Board Game Geek, and some people are trying to sneak Reddit in. I don't know why you'd ever go there, but whatever. I don't see this going away anytime soon. I really don't. I think there's enough stuff that they can do and they can produce for this game, and we are still finding new players on the regular that I think we've got an easy another 5 years, if not more.
Just of Star Realms content, and then beyond that, I just get this feeling that even if it were to pass, this is kind of my forever community. I feel like that you feel that way as well. And on that warm, fuzzy, happy note, guys, I think we are gonna wrap it. Again, want to thank Dustin Bremer, Dusto, for coming on and having this bromance discussion with me, and for continuing to be the rock that he is in the community. And check out his stream. He does stream. He doesn't quite have a specific schedule yet, but he has said he's pretty consistent about getting on about once a week. And he's good about posting, so we can hop in there. We typically will have a best of 3. In addition, I want to remind everyone that we're going to have Brian Machin on next week. And we're going to talk also about community and streaming, and of course, Star Realms. We're going to talk about missions. Dusto, any final thoughts?
No, I appreciate the shout out. The stream is Dusto55. I tried to get Dusto, but someone else already has that. A completely inactive player, but Twitch says, too bad, someone got it first, is what it is. I appreciate you having me on here, Matt. I'm very happy to see that, again, you've got all the kinks worked out. This is very smooth. The quality is coming through fantastically. And, thank you for bringing me on board when you came to the idea of bringing this community to life. Even though we played it a little bit, you definitely could have just held it on your own and just ran it. You did reach out to your close friends.
No, I couldn't have.
And there's a lot of trust that was involved there. And allowing, me to do what I do for the community has meant a lot. Just like you mentioned, for me now, it's a large part of my life. And beyond everything else I can possibly thank you for being there for me through thick and thin, through some of the worst times ever to the best times. This alone has been a gift that I don't know if I could repay. So I really appreciate it.
Warm fuzzies all over, man. Love you, man. Thank you, everyone, for stopping in. That's a wrap.